You can see that our executive director over here, Sri Rajendra Ratna. And we are having this program, in fact, as a joint partnership with Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. There is an organization called Building Materials and Technology Promotion Council.
Okay.
So we have started this webinar series. Now today is the 8th one, no? Every week, time is fixed 2:30 to 4:30.
Okay.
And every day bringing a new and interesting and challenging topic, and more and challenging topics in the sense not going towards too much of technology, rather because NIDM's mandate is capacity building and awareness, as well as documentation, disaster management plan, during, post-disaster, what are the lessons or what are the preparation to be done, and including even climate change and various areas like nuclear radiation, like accident that happened, train accident that happened in Balaso. So we send our team immediately, as soon as possible. Or earthquake is there, like today there is a separate presentation going on Cyclone Biparjoy. Our team visited there, so there is a presentation going on with another faculty member. So wherever things are happening, our team goes there and we cooperate with district administration, those who are in the field, and also national and international, whoever is there in the field, and take cognizance of what happens there immediately after the disaster. And before that, when it is a peace, no war zone, then we go on such kind of seminars, symposia, conference, and also many such national and international event. National event like last March, in May, first we had this May, in the month of May, our Honorable Minister of Ministry of Home Affairs, he was there in, say, it is a 3-day conference on national platform for disaster risk reduction. So it is a regular event every 3 to 4 years. Due to COVID, we could not have, but this year we had it. So it was the third version. Already 2 has been done and third one is over. So there we bring all the practitioners, state government officials, and academicians, experts all together in that platform, where central government and state governments all together, that we see that how much prepared we are. And so it was held in May this year, and many other events like Ministry of Home Affairs, because we are a department under Ministry of Home Affairs, and Ministry has got a disaster management division separately, where a joint secretary is heading, and also one additional secretary is also looking after the disaster management. So a lot of emphasis is given in structural, say, institutional, say, dimensions, especially about the disaster management. Education, research, collaboration are going on, and you can see, all can see our website with lots of detail, lots of training program every day goes on. And so we are in the process of making this webinar series 8, especially with the 2 words you see marked here in the screen, which is shown how and works, they are common. In between only we put the subject. So today's thing is post-disaster communication network, where we have got you for the time being today. Only for short period, as we know that you are very busy, but we'll be very soon having your practical presentation as a part 2 in the next on 4th of August. You can check it on 4th of August, which is again a Friday. So that because in all the weeks of July they are already booked. So
Okay, no issues. Well, I would like to make a minor correction. I think I'm seeing my name as Sudhanshu Shekhar Chaudhuri.
oh.
I write Sudhanshu Shekhar.
Okay.
So no issues.
No issue. ठीक है.
So,
This is that may be taken care of. Next one. Of course, here it has come. Of course, I was having this impression in mind. That is why
okay.
I have put it up. So we'll correct it. Sure. And so now, Avisha, you are to. So
yes, sir.
In our team, we have got this young professional like Avisha, who is going to compare today's program for 2 hours, like at least started. And she has joined hardly 2 months.
Oh.
Yeah. So we get, because they are young, so they come and they get gestation period over here to gestation period in NIDM, because that is what we can do for these young people, that they get a lot of exposure, and then finally they go something in a higher position.
Yes.
And we get a lot of satisfaction in spreading our network through them, encouraging them, having them over here for a few months to a few years. And so that way we keep on, because, you know, in government organization, we give a opportunity to all graduates and onward to come over here, stay with us, go along with us, whatever remotely we conduct training programs. And in my area, like I do more on mitigation, disaster mitigation, especially in earthquake, landslide, erosion control, rejuvenation of water. So we have a lot of such kind of important topics that we have covered up. Aviksha will give some glimpse of that, what we have been doing. And then we have Anurag Nyogi, who has joined again almost 3 months back.
Okay.
He is a PhD from Indian School of Science, Indian School of Mines, and Dhanbad, which has become IIT now.
Yeah, Dhanbad.
Geologist by profession, and very, very hardcore researcher. And it is very difficult to bring him to the level of community, because he is so much akin to the hard work and in the areas of slope stability, rock mechanics, and other things. Okay, Avisha. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for this gesture. So, sir, should I wait for should we wait for our esteemed guest of honors, or should we start the session formally?
Okay, we have almost 8 minutes. A few more participants we are expecting. Is it?
Okay, let's wait for them.
2-3
Yes,
minutes.
sir.
In the meanwhile, you can give some background. Continue the background.
Well, as far as I am concerned, I started my career from CSIR. I was in Siri Pilani as a scientist initially, and during my initial days, I was into those days microprocessors, and this industrial automation was something very. It was something very upcoming field those days. So I was into industrial controls those days, and I had been working for sugar industries, and then I worked for some projects for tea industry, especially automation of tea industry. And then I shifted to a company called Stesalit, where I was into, basically that company is into rolling stock, and their major client was Indian Railways. So then my first baby was Kolkata Metro Rail. I had been working for Kolkata. I designed a lot of things, and around in 2000, I stripped the whole old technology, Kolkata Metro Rail, and got it modernized, and I converted it into a microprocessor controlled metro. It was earlier an analog electronics based metro.
Okay.
So that was my first project, and then after that I made some around more than 170 products for railways and various telecom industries. And telecommunication, I entered into this field somewhere around 2014 onwards.
Okay.
once this voice over IP and these technology became very popular, it was very interesting. And during my some 17, 18 years experience in railways, I have also witnessed a lot of big train mishaps which has happened during those period, and I was a part of their investigation team also in some of them.
Okay.
So what I learned from those incidents that you can avert, or maybe these accidents could have been avoided if we could have, or maybe the casualties could have been brought down if we could have a better communication network, or maybe we could have communicated to the right person or right agency at the right point of time. So this basically, I was just wondering what to do with this. Then one of my friends and myself, we joined hands, and then we decided to make something where, in case of an emergency, and when you don't have any other means of communication available, the conventional ones, so how to enable agencies to enable them to communicate at that point of time. And our very first real world challenge was, there was a movement in West Bengal long time back that was, I think they were protesting for some Gorkha land or something, if I remember correctly. So at that time, normally during riots and these type of conditions, police and these agencies, normally they stop all these internet services and all those things. So these agencies it becomes a big challenge for the police or the government agencies itself to communicate to each other, because you are using the same network. So then we were asked to make some solution in which these agencies could communicate in spite of having these networks blocked. So we made some narrow band communication systems, which we tried for the first time. And it was a big success. And we could, even Home Ministry sitting at Kolkata was monitoring and had a direct access to these ground zero workers. So this is what we did for the first time. And then this is how we started Green Connect Technologies.
Okay.
So after that, slowly, when we entered into it, we learned a lot of about, and then how to go. Now, recently, we have come up with a solution which is meant for accident relief trains.
Okay.
So it's a very small portable
ART,
system.
huh?
ART, yes. So it's a small portable system. You can carry it along with you. It's as good as a medium-sized suitcase or a cabin baggage suitcase, which is self-powered. It has a VHF, HF, or UHF radio. It has GSM, multiple GSM receivers. There is a provision for satellite radio. You have a standard LAN connection. You have Wi-Fi, and all sorts of possible communication networks are there. So whatever you find there, you can even use an optical fiber that you can directly connect it to it. So we have our own. So you can connect any type of media and get connected to. You can even have an extension of the PSTN phone over there.
Okay.
So you have a helpline available at ground zero. At the same time, the team are working on various channels on RF or maybe walkie-talkies, and you can patch them to maybe a far off, a distant station or a control room which is located remotely. So this comes handy in case of if you want medical help or maybe fire and other maybe civil support and other support. So all them can be hooked together. They can be clubbed, or you can have selective networking. They can be kept separated. They can talk to their peers. If you want, you can monitor all of them. The control team can talk to all of them, but they are not interfering to each other. You can have a firewall also amongst them. So these type of things are there. So this is how these products started evolving, and we worked into it.
So can it be demonstrated here?
Definitely in part 2.
In our institute, in one of the days, you can bring the entire system here, and we can have a.
Yeah, maybe during our next session, I would definitely like to put this thing live on this webinar, so that you can have a
little hybrid. And then following that, we can have a full day workshop over here, following all the NDRA, police, or all the response person from across the country.
Yeah.
And we can have a demonstration of this live demonstration and with activity where
Yes.
we can communicate.
Then-
That we can arrange very soon in our campus at Rohini, an NIDM campus.
And we have made some quick deployment systems
Yeah.
also, like for example, in case in most of the cases we have found that in major accidents, the infrastructure in and around the railway tracks also get damaged. So sometimes you lose all modes of communication networks. And if you don't have GSM or any other thing, so we have a quick deployment antenna by which you can have a point-to-point communication from a distant location as far as maybe 30-35 kilometers.
Okay.
And then you can hook to internet or any other mode of communication by which you connect to outside world and you have a full communication network.
Okay.
So
And
yes,
you can have multiple such things even in the hilly area, like where landslides happen.
yes, and definitely we have. Initially we started from here northeast only. Our initial projects were deployed in northeast. In hilly areas, if it is blocked by some mountain peak or something, we have a quick deployment repeaters which can be kept on the peak or somewhere. So which will allow you to communicate on the other side of the hill, and then it's connected to the network.
Oh, okay. So lot of food for thought and action to be taken up very soon.
So this is in nutshell what we had been doing.
Yeah.
And definitely as discussed, we'll take it in part 2. We'll try to take it further.
Okay.
And I would appreciate and love to have inputs from you all, experts like you all, so that we can maybe we get some additional inputs to improve our system and add something which is not there. Maybe we have overlooked or something like that.
Okay. And then maybe when we'll have a workshop here in a physical mode, in our campus over here, so at least 50-60 personnel who are dealing with this, then we can have a day-long exercise over there. You can bring the system in our campus. So then, because they are having more than 2 decades of experience,
right?
Actually, so then we can really make it more, versatile, as well as whatever queries and can be updated, or it can be deployed in the situation, and can be made part and parcel of the rescue team.
And we have these systems can even be connected to VSATs for and you can have voice over IP. Of course, there is a lot of latency in VSAT, around maybe 1 second or so, but definitely it's usable. You can talk. 1 second delay is not too much. Earlier on international calls, we used to have such delays. During our young days. So I think that is manageable in case of any mishap or in case of emergency. 1 second latency is not too much.
Okay. Or we can have a live demonstration even in the campus here itself. Then we will put some jammer over here in the jammer.
Okay, yeah, right.
Use and then see that how it gets into that.
Right.
Because we are having more than 100 employees over here in the campus itself. Then put some artificially create a scenario where we can operate this.
And then we have one more interesting thing that you can have in case you don't have any other mode of communication. If you are using something like VHF or HF or UHF, which has a very narrow bandwidth. So you can use those narrow bandwidth devices for even transmitting images and photographs or facsimiles or documents or emails. Of course, you will not get a very high throughput, but at least it's useful if you want to send a photograph or maybe a small animation or a picture or something, or maybe a document. So if it can be even these documents can be transmitted and received even using conventional cell phones. So you can use the microphone and speaker of your cell phone to receive these tones from the walkie-talkie, and it will create the document for you. So the document is recreated at your end, and it's transmitted from the other end using the same method. So on a very narrow bandwidth, we can even provide you some
kind of
intelligent networks also. These are not meant for very high bandwidth, high speed application like our day-to-day activities for watching videos and movies or Netflix. But this can be these are usable when you are in acute emergency and if you don't have any means of communication.
Okay. You also integrate some of the sensors, LoRa sensors, or
Yes. All these devices have digital and analog input outputs. We integrate all, and you can and all this communication is totally encrypted, so it cannot be intercepted.
okay. Wow, very good. So yes, we have got a very
Yes, sir.
interesting say
Person in between us and listening to his contributions, our participants might be very curious to learn, also to listen from sir also in our second part of the webinar series, which will be coming on the first month of the August.
Yeah.
So you have very good work contributions in the field of this IoT solutions and how we can integrate in the field of disaster management and how this communications will establish a effective post-disaster communication facilities in between us. So thank you, sir, for joining today. So, sir, this is the right time. Should we start the session
Yeah,
formally?
please.
Okay, thank you, sir. And sir, Pal sir is already with us, and Bhomik sir will join us after the while. So he told that we should start the session. He'll be joining us after some time. Cordial salutation to the patrons, Sri Rajendra Ratno, ED and IDM, Dr. Sailesh Kumar Agarwal, ED BMTPC, under the Ministry of Home Affairs and Ministry of Housing Affairs respectively, distinguished guest of honors, Mr. Sudhanshu Sekhar, founder of Green Connect Technology, Mr. Kabir Bhomik, Head Business Development, GC Technology, and Mr. Manoranjan Pal, Head Operation, GC Technology, and the chairperson of the session, Professor Chandan Ghosh, Head Resilient Infrastructure Division and IDM. I am Vipsha Mohanty. I am a professional in IDM. Extend a warm welcome to all of you for your welcomes you all in the 8th part of the webinar series on how post-disaster communication network works. मुख्य सत्र से प्रवेश करने से पहले मैं कुछ बातें आपको बताना चाहूंगी जो आपके लिए उपयोगी होगी। राष्ट्रीय आपदा प्रबंधन संस्थान के इस वेबिनार श्रृंखला की शुरुआत की गई है जो कि हर शुक्रवार को आयोजित करी जाती है। वेबिनार के रिकॉर्ड किया जा रहा है एंड यूट्यूब पर लाइव स्ट्रीमिंग हो रही है। यूट्यूब लाइव स्ट्रीमिंग का लिंक पहले ही आपको चैट बॉक्स पर प्रसारित कर दिया गया है। वेबिनार के दौरान कृपया क्वेश्चन आंसर प्लेटफॉर्म का उपयोग करके अपने प्रश्न या टिप्पणियां सबमिट करें। हम अपने प्रतिक्रिया के दौरान आपको सवालों को उत्तर देने का बखूबी कोशिश करेंगे। एक बार फिर से मैं सभी महत्वपूर्ण प्रतियोगिताओं का गहरा आभार व्यक्त करती हूँ। आज यहाँ उपस्थित होने के लिए मैं अपना गहन आभार प्रकट करती हूँ। प्राकृतिक आपदा और आपत्तियों के सामने प्रभावी संचार जीवन बचाने, प्रतिक्रिया प्रयासों को समन्वयित करने और पुनर्व्यवस्था की प्रक्रिया को सुविधाजनक बनाने के महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाती है। एक अच्छी डिजाइन और प्रतीक्षाशील संचार नेटवर्क ऐसी घटनाओं के दौरान और बाद में संचार बुनियाद बनाई जाती है। ये वेबिनार हम जो आयोजित करते हैं बेसिकली हम पोस्ट डिजास्टर कम्युनिकेशन नेटवर्क कैसे काम करती है उसके बारे में हम आपको सूचना प्रदान करेंगे, जिसके लिए हमारे जो चेयरपर्सन और स्पीकर प्रोफेसर चंदन घोष सर आपके लिए उसको अच्छे से डिटेल से आपको बताएंगे। So again, I'll give a brief introduction about this webinar. In this webinar, we will explore the key aspects, principles, and functionaries of the post-disaster communication network system. And we basically delve into the components, technologies, and the strategies that enables the communication, challenging the environment, and provide the valuable insights into how these networks specifically operates. During a disaster, traditional communication channels may be disrupted, making it essential to establish the alternative means of communication. Post-disaster communication networks are designed to overcome the challenges posed by the damaged infrastructures, power outages, the network disruptions, congestion that occurs due to the disaster during and post-disaster. They leverage various technologies such as the satellite system, mobile networks, radio communication, and the internet to establish the reliable communications when they are needed at the most. Throughout this webinar, we will discuss the resilience of these networks and measures taken to ensure the continuity in the adverse conditions. Here, we will examine the role of various roles and responsibilities of the stakeholders, including the devices that basically work during the time of the disaster and after the post-disaster to establish the situation into a normal condition. Real life case studies always plays a very vital role in making us learn that how we are going to adopt some successful case studies into our real life implementations to come to the resilience and make ourselves self-sufficient. So furthermore, we will address the crucial aspects of information dissemination during and after disasters. Timely and accurate information is vital during to the affected communities to make the informed decisions and take appropriate actions against them. We will explore various communication channels, including the social media, the emergency alert systems, and discuss how they will utilize to provide the vital information to those in need. So thank you, sir, and for joining us today. And Go sir will have a very detailed session on this. And lastly, the webinar aims to provide a practical guidance and platform for the participants who may be involved in the disaster response and recovery efforts. This will effectively establish a setup or strategies that we will be requiring to operate the post-disaster communication networks. So we will expect the participants to effectively engage in the session. And today we will definitely have a fruitful session from the Chandan Ghosh sir. So I'd like to request our chairperson to explain the session and take over the charge of the session. Chandan sir is a multifaceted expert with knowledge in science and civil engineering. He has been a member of NIDM since July 2006, which he currently serves as a professor and a head of the Resilient Infrastructure Division. He has dedicated over 3 decades of academia and research in various fields, including the earthquake, geotechnology, early warning system, the post-disaster communication network establishment, geosynthetics, bioengineering measures for sustainable development. During this time, he has developed technical tools and training modules for the engineers, architects, town planners, and the multi-paradigm stakeholders who are working in this field. So over to you, sir. Now the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Avisha. Before I start, I'd like to thank our AD and IDM and also our patron, Dr. Shailesh Kumar Agarwal, who has been an inspiration in taking up this webinar series with topics of various field interest implications and everything. इसके साथ मैं अभी सुधांशु शेखर जी को कुछ इंट्रोडक्टरी बात आपने इस शुरुआत के पहले आपने बताया है, लेकिन आपका कुछ और अनुभव है तो बिफोर आई स्टार्ट यू प्लीज हिंदी और अंग्रेजी, क्योंकि हमारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स ने रिक्वेस्ट किया है थोड़ा हिंदी भी प्रयोग करें.
धन्यवाद. Thank you, Mr. Ghosh, and good afternoon to all esteemed participants. I'm truly honored to address you today as the guest of honor in this significant webinar on how post-disaster communication network works, organized by NIDM. I extend my deepest gratitude to the Institute for providing me this opportunity to share insights and ideas in this critical subject. Normally, in times of disaster, effective communication becomes a lifeline for those affected as well as for those who are the first responders and the relief agencies, which works tirelessly to provide assistance. A well-functioning disaster communication network is the most essential coordinating part. And especially that is the only channel through which we disseminate all the vital information to the rescuers, to the stakeholders whose near and dear ones are in the is basically in the disaster, or maybe they are not connected to them, and the victims. So in order to ensure swift and efficient response, an effective communication network is the only, I think that is the only lifeline. Today we have gathered here to delve into the intricacies of this communication network and to explore best practices, innovative solutions, and collaborative efforts that underpin these systems. This webinar also serves as a platform, that is what I understand from your conversation a few minutes back, for knowledge exchange and enabling us to enhance our preparedness and response mechanism to make it better and to serve our community in the time of crisis. A robust post-disaster communication network is built on a foundation of preparedness, planning, and coordination.
Yeah.
So, and the most important thing is to have a clear and a transparent protocol and guidelines, because you have multiple agencies working at ground zero. So the protocol, especially I'm talking of technical communication protocol as well as the SOPs. It has to be transparent and it has to be it should be clear. And secondly, the deployment of trained personnel is definitely the key thing. And first and foremost, it is imperative to have a reliable communication system in place, which can withstand impact of disaster. Definitely, this can be achieved by redundancy and diversity in communication channels. That is what we were talking a few minutes back, that you have multiple networks and multiple channels. So if one fails, you have some other network back in place, such as satellite communication, mobile networks, radio systems, internet connectivities, and RF communication over. Nowadays, you have a lot of digital RF communication also, which takes then you have a network of ham radios, which can also be integrated along with this. So by leveraging these multiple platforms, we can ensure uninterrupted communication, even when maybe more or 50% of these channels are down or it's not disrupted. Equally important is the need of trained and skilled professionals who can effectively manage. We need to focus on training also. A communication network during the crisis. These individuals are playing very critical role in relaying accurate information, coordinating response efforts, and ensuring that the right messages reach the right people at the right point of time. Their expertise and ability to adapt to challenging circumstances are paramount. And collaboration and coordination among various stakeholders is the fundamental thing by which we can effectively achieve this post-disaster communication network. That is between government agencies, NGOs, and you have telecommunication providers. Then you have a lot of community-based groups like HAMS, that is what I mentioned earlier. So by fostering this strong partnership between these stakeholders and using their expertise, we can strengthen our collective ability to communicate and respond at the times of need. Technology, of course, it is the key thing to play, and it plays a pivotal role in shaping post-disaster communication networks. This is where the role of agencies like NIDM and companies like this Green Connect becomes important. From early warning systems to geographical information systems to social media platforms and mobile applications, technology advancements, all these technologies can be hooked together and we can stitch them together to have a effective and innovative solution can be thought of by data sharing and situational awareness. It is crucial for us to embrace these advancements and adapt them to specific context and community upgrade our capabilities. However, we must also acknowledge the challenge and inequalities that arise in the face of technological advance, especially in third world countries like India, where we have very low literacy rates in some part of the country, and the digital divide must be bridged to ensure that everyone, regardless of their background or geographical location or language, caste, creed, whatsoever, has equitable access to communication tools and resources. We must strive to include everybody, and no one should be left behind at the time of crisis. And in conclusion, I commend this step, this great effort taken by NIDM for organizing this insightful webinar and bringing together experts and practitioners on the same platform from diverse backgrounds. Let us seize this opportunity to learn from one another and exchange our ideas to develop strategies that will enhance our post-disaster communication networks. I'll not take much of your time. May the knowledge gained and discussions held during this webinar inspire us to strengthen our preparedness response and recovery mechanism. Together, let us work towards a future where effective post-disaster communication networks become a cornerstones of resilience and save lives of our communities. I once again thank you all and wish you all a productive and enlightening webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you.
This is inclusivity and basically the purpose की जो सारे लोगों को different domain से हम collectively एक platform में लाएं और during the time of disaster and post-disaster, all are there's the victims. So this inclusivity approach and awareness is quite important. So our purpose is to basically aware those people who must not get affect during those times and their needful times. So thank you, sir, for having your time and join us and give the insightful thoughts on this particular topic. We will definitely learn in detail from your the upcoming series. So be with us, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Very excellent. In nutshell, that what you have given, that what the treasure that you are having, and in this disaster management, where we consider everything disaster means it is a singularity or big bang or something like that. It is not that. There are things are happening, and the way that throughout your life, especially after BHU, getting your degree from the BHU, Banaras Hindu University.
Yes.
In fact, I was having your neighborhood building, civil engineering.
Okay.
You passed out in 1989, and I entered there in 1990.
Okay.
As a lecturer in civil engineering. In those days, they used to call lecturer.
Okay.
So I was there till 2000, and before I went to Japan. But of course, since we missed each other in that environs, but now it has become IIT, and
Yes.
a lot more department has come up. So let us also say that your alma mater and my working place all together, it is a good, I would say it is such a wonderful communication even after 33 years, 34 years.
30 years.
And we have not yet met physically, but only talking over telephone. So thanks to this kind of communication, even though it is webinar or it is online, it has given us a momentum, maybe a decade, maybe it would have taken another 1 decade to achieve such kind of sophistication in reaching to each and everyone and communicating, and also showing things that in a multi-channel and in a multiple and varied way, sharing the things and keeping in record and keeping the repository of this information as well as guideline and the experience being shared over this for the lifetime ahead, if of course we survive in this earth, because it is always the fittest for the survivor. We are always living every day, every moment. And when disasters are happening or disaster doesn't happen, we have many different kinds of definition about the disaster, especially after Disaster Management Act 2005 came up. A number of institutions that created, where NIDM is created, of course, in 1995, but it is made into an IDM in 2003 onward, and we are having our own campus over here. So I would like to make it assured that many of our participants over here, and being that it is on record, the kind of webinar series that we have taken it up on such a practical issue, especially post-disaster communication, we have got the real expert who are able to combine all possible mode of communication, including 5G, and in future 6G also going to come up, and which are going to give a lot of advantage, especially in case of emergency and disaster communication. So I am going to take up something not as an expert, but with the whatever information being floating here and there, just joined them in certain fashion and trying to present that what is most important, especially during emergency. After it happens, of course, today is that topic, but before things may go wrong also, it's early warning and other things. So I'm going to make a general presentation and giving some of the rudiments of technologies and know-how that which are available across the globe. So I can share this, my few slides over here, especially, okay. So we have talked a lot about that how post-disaster communication network with the background information from Mr. Sudhanshu Shekhar and the kind of projections, the kind of immediate necessity and emergency and proliferation of the kind of technology that which are being integrated, the way that he has briefly presented today, which will be made into more practical with a hybrid mode on 4th of August. And later on, we can have practical demonstration in our campus where we can share the experience of using this communication in the campus as we have discussed in the beginning part of this webinar. So let me take some of the things that disaster scenario and other things, because while talking about the disaster, then we have to always motivate, or we have to take some kind of emotional outbreak or whatever from the kind of things that we see in our day-to-day in many things that happen. This is a scenario that who was rescued on 7th February in Tapovan area. The worker was working in a tunnel, and in that about 200 people got missing or died, and many of them still their positions, their locations could not be established. And that scenario that it has happened due to a debris flow which has taken place about 20-25 kilometers above and carried to the construction of the this hydroelectric power project site where people, these workers were working. After that event, now it is more than 2 years has gone. So they have placed some certain automatic weather stations and some kind of sensor in place, but they are looking forward to an NIDM now to establish a dependable and where a protocol of early warning, which we have to take up one such practical project with National Hydroelectric Power Corporation and also with NTPC, whose site got devastated that time. So thing is, we didn't have any such kind of installed system in that area, and things came and it has devastated. It has killed so many people, and many of them are not traceable. But now, as we will be taking forward, that there are many devices now which are in place. Even in one of the seminar, we have discussed about the LoRa devices, LoRa sensor, how it works. And we know we have conveyed through that, and some practical demonstration also being done, that how LoRa devices, if even in the form of a smart card or one kind of small card, if this say workers are given at wherever they are located, and LoRa gateways are there, which can support more than 10,000 of the devices, then at least wherever they are, even up to 7-8 meters below the debris, the signal can be received at least from those smart cards. So we had some demonstration of that, but it was done through, of course, hybrid mode webinar. But very soon we are going to have similar kind of practical demonstration in our campus, so that we can have a live experience of usage of these devices. So keeping in mind that we need sensor devices, we need network, we need a platform, and we need an application, especially disaster scenario, pre or post or preparation, whatever we can take it. So the background is post-disaster communication network, of course, is an infrastructure system which will be detailed in the next, say, webinar. So in an emergency situation, to facilitate communication among the responders, affected individual and relevant stakeholder immediately after the disaster. So things that we are here, communication, we are concentrating on communication. So there are, whenever cyclones are hit, whether it is Yash or whether it is Amphan, Filin, Hudud, we saw that telecommunication network, mobile network, that we all got devastated in our country. And every time cyclone comes, we see, and even during Biparjoy also, electricity as well as communication, because communication say structure got totally tumbled like this. So that way, there is no way to keep the communication on. But our topic of disaster impact, especially on the communication, when it is causing like this, then there is an scope for always for us, being from the engineering side or from the power grid corporation or from the telecommunication, whatever tower that they are establishing, at least structurally let them be sound enough so that we don't have to face such kind of trouble. So when they have to be made structurally sound, then this, and also vulnerability aspects to be looked into, then post-disaster communication, as can be shown in the scenario over here, this will not be much of the difficulty. But in many cases, where I'm going to show, maybe one tower out of 10 tower got devastated. So post-disaster communication will be when one base tower is missing or it is got devastated in this, how to immediately communicate or establish communication with other remaining towers surrounding. That is not a challenge, but that is a possibility, and that is being arranged, and that is the motto, and that is the main purpose of organizing this kind of, today's such meeting. And we know in the city, we cannot help making such kind of network and they go out of services. So in such cases also, what kind of communication that we have to establish when it carries several such wire and network and other things, then it becomes not a challenge as we have been discussing in the beginning. Rather, we have to make an alternate arrangement. First thing is, things should not get suffer in this way, because communication gets suffer because the structural part got devastated. So in such cases, then alternate communication, how efficiently it is possible from the local to the through the those authorities that who are functioning at the disaster site. So that way comes that disaster management cycle, that especially post-disaster communication, we are communicating, or we are concerned just after disaster how to create a communication network sufficient enough so that supply, demand, as well as all other necessity arrangement at the site, relief work and other things can be efficiently continued, or rather they can be discharged without much losing the golden time or immediately after that. Or even every phases of this, whether it is early recovery, reconstruction, or whether we are, and in all these phases, especially over here, a good robust communication network is essential, whether we are because it takes a lot of time to get this thing in position, sometime a month or two, or sometime we definitely, after Cyclone Hudud in 2013, the Visakhapatnam city, they took a gigantic effort to make all this communication network and pipelines, especially underground, so that they do not get affected by the cyclone or high winds from the sea. So, and for the disaster preparedness, which I will show in the later part, that what is the application of early warning or putting the sensors, communication, especially it is data collection, how it is to be made more, say resilient enough so that we can get sufficient warning. So in the case of earthquake, especially if we take an example, in the case of earthquake, which comes, of course, we do not know how to predict, but we have got certain kind of fast communication. Like when earthquake happened in Japan, any part of that, they are able to sense its location by the set of communication network that they have established within 2 to 3 seconds or 4 seconds of time. By that time, earthquake waves might have traveled at the rate of, say, 4 to 5 kilometers per second, say 20 kilometers. So that is why they made it sure that across the country, more than 10,000 such seismic stations that they have placed, so that they are able to pinpoint the correct location of the earthquake, and they are communicated in such a way that the algorithm and software analysis tools are appropriately made in such a way that they do not lose even 1 or 2 seconds in detecting the earthquake and the magnitude of the earthquake. And at the same time, the wave that which is traveling, say 50 kilometers away or 100 kilometers away, depending on the magnitude of the or intensity that it is going to generate, then they give some advanced early warning, like in case of train, that they give automatic brake to stop the train. So in our country, we have to take up this kind of technology based on that already this advancement are available. So in case of earthquake, just only to show, it is of course taken this one from one of the small publication from Japan, that immediately after earthquake or something, that what happens and what kind of activity we do. Of course, there are many live scenario are there, video are there, YouTube are also there, even many films are also there. But while making all these things, then where communication will find a good befitable place to communicate whatever has happened due to an earthquake, that we are going to discuss. And disaster phases and relevant approaches for network resilience. Where we need, when disaster happens, then it comes down network, as I have shown few of the photographs. There are several such scenarios are there, disaster scenario, and then how much time it takes to recover that. So there are many such diagrams are being shown, abstracts are there. One is this, another maybe this. Pre-disaster, okay, things are going on. So we have to, and post-disaster, this available network capacity comes down. Lots of congestions are there, but after post-disaster, network recovery takes place, then it comes on its own level. So, and whatever requested, say phone call on other things are there, they become higher than whatever capacity is there. So it is, so during post-disaster, then one part is capacity, this networks comes down, and on the other hand, demand goes high, there is a huge gap. So there are many such correlations made, and as time passes, then we come into the recovery phase, and by the time that we lose here, so the main part of setting this communication network to take up this increased demand is the prime necessity that which is to be done at the disaster site. Some of the event happens which, in one of these on June 9, 2014, one of the gate was opened and 21 students or some like that, they are from, they were visiting on the downside when water came, because there was no warning system here, no siren over here. So when water came and all have been drowned away, there was a sad incident that took place. But when such kind of event that which we had the control to keep at least a siren or having a control, then not allowing anyone, any onlookers or visitors to go to the downstream when there is water, that stored water, there some gates through which water will come. And they have, so there are a lot of things to learn from this case, that what is the timing for releasing the gate, and what are the appropriate warning sign to be placed, and what are the appropriate protection measures, or what are the appropriate marking at this level or here, that what is the level of water if one gate is open, then what is the level of water that will rise. So in that case, such kind of markings are required after the event or before the event. These have to be taken up in a many systematically. So like after the event has taken place, a notice has come up. So giving and serving a notice is one of the non-structural way to look after that, so that future such disaster does not happen. But there are many ways to look into this, that making an appropriate arrangement if it is not a tourist place, or at least marking the water with some kind of red mark or yellow color, that let the people, if they are coming down with properly and some steps are made, arrangement has been made, they should not go down at below level, which may be marked based on the opening of the gate here, releasing all the water. This can be easily marked in few days of time by the authority that who are maintaining this kind of thing. So post-disaster, even communication is not only telecommunication or establishing a 4G network, another thing. But communication here comes in disaster management in post-disaster level, is that making appropriate arrangement based on the lessons that we had, and at least some physical marking over here, some kind of siren over here, so that this can be heard by the people, whoever coming there on this here on the road, because here is a road, motorable road. So in that case, post-disaster safety as well as warning signs have to be in place over there, which has to be taken into account. Then another thing that we expect something like this means that when at the place that where I'm standing or I'm here or some other people are there, when that earthquake waves or intensity of 7 and above is going to hit at my location. So these are all, scenario being placed and which are established, of course, without background prepositioning of seismic network. This kind of things cannot be had. So this we are having in some other country. But this kind of like waves, when it comes to the position where I'm standing, it should be able to give such kind of, it will take so much of time, like 27 seconds of time, and so much intensity that when I'm standing over here and where earthquake waves will come to my location, having a smartphone with me, or even so many information network that we are having, it should show that even if it is 20 seconds, 27 seconds, in case of earthquake only. In case of cyclone, we get several days of warning time. Or in case of flood also, we get several hours in many cases, the warning time. So keeping those things in mind, we can integrate all the communication network as well as ground situation into our system, so that we get properly warned in a pre-disaster phase. Like these are the things that adopted. Just only earthquake happens, then it is Japan Meteorological Agency. They sense it, they take it, then they calculate it, then they show it through satellite communication. It comes to the receiving unit, then it comes to radio transmission, and from the radio transmission, then if any train or nuclear power facilities are there, then there are many such trains, and they have stopped after getting all this system in place and then applying the automatic brake to the train. Like this is one scenario in 2004. This train was running at a very high speed, earthquake occurred, and this kind of communication was placed, and then train was stopped, and so it was saved from the derailment. A derailment has occurred, but devastation has not occurred. So earthquake early warning system, that an auto brake applied on this date after the Mid-Niigata earthquake. So there is a proper established such kind of system in the high-speed train, and where they have to make emergency brake and other things, all are automated in this fashion. So in that case, you can see that slow down, they give all these things and they put all these devices and earthquake sensors, and earthquake comes, and then through this network, it comes to the control center, and then it gives a message or automatic break kind of communication they have established. Then through SMS and siren or through mobile phone, all these things are communicated. Then another thing is, if suppose we are in any one of these places, when an earthquake strikes, then what we may be anywhere, maybe in the riverside, maybe on the railway, maybe in the elevator, maybe driving, maybe in residential colony, maybe in a metro rail or whatever it is, maybe in the seaside, maybe in the buses, whatever, wherever we are, then our communication network, wherever we are, not that only that communication network, post-disaster communication network may work, may not work, but there are something that what is to be done, what is not to be done. Even if we are like, we have shown over here that these things will come and train is being stopped. So this is one way of setting a communication network during disaster and then taking action. So here also all sorts of communication network has to take place. The way that we say communicate with our satellite or even terrestrial objects that we are able to observe, locate, and then see and take decision. So similarly, in this kind of network, our main objective to save life or save establishments. So this part, of course, is very fundamental, taking into account that we have all the sensors and all the communication devices in place. Other than this, when we are here, suppose, let us see, even if that train is stopped, but when it is an earthquake, getting the information and facing that intensity, wherever we are, that intensity of 6 or 7 is going to come, then what to do, what not to do. So in all this case, this gives, like, if you are in business district, downtown area, then what is to be done? So there are some, some kind of help cartoon or artificial scenario is being generated. And what are the way that despite we are having mobile phone, maybe it is acting and all communications, but we have to do something. We are not expecting something that communication will come to me if anything happens, then I will act. But at the same time, disaster management and capacity building programs also incorporate that what is to be done immediately after receiving the information, or in the case of earthquake, when even without receiving the information, because most of the countries, most of the earthquake prone areas cannot have such a costly early warning system integration as the way that Japan or many other countries have done, but it is not for the whole country or whole region because it is a very money or cost intensive technology. But we have to do something on our own level, what to do, what not to do. So this also, communication may be there, may not be there, but shaking will be experienced, and for that need not to be that it will come to my mobile phone and then only I will act. So what we do several kinds of such kind of exercise, classroom exercise, as well as mock drill also across the country. Many such say awareness-based programs are important. Even when we see that in a compound or in a school area, that what are we make such kind of marking in a disaster management plan. So across the country, disaster management plans are being made by many at the district level, even organizational level, ministry level, state level, even institution level also, even school level also. but plan is made in a paper. But at the same time, plan it is now being emphasized to make the plan paper, but also on the ground, like a school compound or in a busy business district area. There are certain places which are to be earmarked, and showing here some kind of arrow mark over here, that at least while mobile communication or all other communication may not be always feasible to carry or feasible to get the direction, but when things are in place with some arrow mark in case of emergency, what is the assembly point at a particular location? Like this is a rail line. What are the assembly point over here? Those are to be earmarked. Now, how to communicate with each other? Just a example, like students, children, maybe parents are communicating. So what are the way of communication? Even though they are having maybe mobile phone, communication is going on. So here also, having an access to communication, all are existing, but who is to communicate with whom? There are certain protocols are also defined, and during disaster management level training, we make sure that who is to conduct here. So here again, it is just being shown over here. If say brother and sister, they are in school, let them not decide or communicate where they are to be or how they are. But there has to be someone in the school or in principal level or where disaster management chart, the responsibility is given. So they have to make the communication in this way, not in this way. So this is what is being shown. So there are many such IEC materials are available to carry and convey the communication in a practical sense. Having communication is okay, but how to use that communication? It is also our responsibility to learn and go through such kind of exercise and learning. And also, our mobile phone also should get certain kind of information like earthquake will hit in 7 seconds. Earthquake will hit in 7 seconds, and mobile, we are having a large area that we are having all smartphone. And while our main aim for this discussion is how to reestablish the communication immediately after the disaster, but after reestablishing also and before this communication also, it is also equally important that to reach to the people that early warning information. Of course, in many places it is until and unless those sensors and those kind of tools are in place, we cannot have. But we can get area-based information wherever it is feasible, that we can see that earthquake will hit in 7 seconds, or intensity of this, which is of severity, is going to be faced by the place that where we are. So such kind of information based on the communication network can be worked on that. So this is where 4G, 5G, or even 6G communications are going to be very, very much useful to get this communication also integrated in making people in the disaster area that properly informed and directed. So disaster impact again have shown few of the examples, but what it is that we used to know that, well, before 2 decades also, we used to take 100% acceptability with a remorse with a negative, with the things that whenever disaster strike, whether they flood or anything or earthquake is there, first casualty is the network. But with the advancement and advent of technology and know-how, various levels of communications, which we are going to show just an introductory part of that, that now it is not like that. So the where and mobile network face serious network congestion, which I have shown in the form of a graph, pictograph, or complete network failure. So we'll show some of these examples. And due to the absence of network administrator, the network recovery also fails. Occurrence of regions which are totally isolated from any communication system due to the disaster, and emergency communication equipment that are not utilized ordinarily, because these are earthquake kind of thing, they happen once in a while in our country setup. So then to solve this problem, always on network must have the following characteristics. Of course, these are all reliable source of communication. We have got now resiliency in establishing our communication network. So must have higher redundancy to be easily and timely reorganized even if system is damaged, and use the available communication radio waves by itself if the system detects them. Of course, there should be a very, very fast data access and communication. And for that, of course, 4G, 5G network is very much required, or even other than that, there are low frequency network that which is now easily can be established. And then we have to see that network performance due to congestion. So this requires at the real disaster scenario side, this requires a lot of testing, and of course, internet connections by automatic network or configuration changes also to be made into the system. Dynamic expansion of network to provide more coverage. And of course, power supply is integral, which is made now possible. Various other alternative sources of powers are there. And so satellite communication, mobile communication, amateur radio, mass network, deployable communication system, even in many of our smartphone now, that broadcaster radio system is also there, internet radio is also there, which we can see in detail. So there are some like radio or IP communication solutions are also there, and these are all will be detailed in the second part of this say a webinar. The wireless automated remote system, sirens, WARS system in building coverage, tunnel communication, many things are there, radio communication solution. So these are all being developed by Green Connect technology, which will be, they will be giving a featured presentation on this and demonstration. So the post-disaster communication network should have operability, interoperability, and continuity of communication. Then what are the comparison of various types of information communication systems? So there are a lot of references as well as establishments are available, whether it is high speed or so even 20 to 75 Mbps, and then in cellular or even in satellite. So lots of development has taken place. I'm not going into the technical details of these things. So in this, so there are walkie-talkie, and there are satellite communication, and there are walkie-talkie we know we are very much familiar with. One-to-one or communication are there. And in satellite communication, how it is being made. So there are some examples are there. So technological solution for post-disaster solution recovery, terrestrial infrastructure, installing aerial networks and using space-borne networks is the main thing. Like here, one base station got failed, but here mobile ad hoc networks are working. But this is failed, so this is not possible. This is not possible. So in that case, backhaul network with UAV can be established over here through this, that this one can be, that communication is possible. And moreover, the communication that here overload traffic is that this is not able to handle because this has failed. So with UAV, backhaul network provider like UAV aided communication, this can be made. And disaster response communication systems. So there are many such things. State emergency operations centers are established in many of our states. And then primary backbone or secondary backbone. So at the state level, even at central level also, it is under establishment in Delhi. But at the district level also, these are the kind of system. Many of the districts, they have installed this kind of operations. And at the state level, district level, and then central level, in fact, it is a very robust system, which are, of course, being defined over here, but they are to come up with the help of technology that being evolved. Then state-wide network, when districts are there, when district network, district 1, 2, 3, 4, then it through broadband or you see lease line, it has to come over here, and then state headquarter, it has to be done. Like here, state headquarter or state emergency operations center. And so how post-disaster communication networks, in fact, affected area is over here, and then it goes to wide area network. And so there are many such solution domains are available, and we would like to see that how they operate with a practical demonstration. Okay, satellite communication network for disaster development. Again, coordination and secure connections, internet, and then this hazmat type of these vehicles are there, and through that we can communicate. So through satellite broadcasting, communication, disaster rescue, all these things are being made in a rural area or remote area, and other things are there. In mobile connection network also. So disaster alert, like in mobile, of course, we have not yet made these things operational in our country. You can see in some other country, they have upgraded it, but we have to take such kind of things forward because many of the line agencies, nodal agencies that we are looking at, like in case of flood, we do not have mobile network to come up to this warning level, but that is to be operated very soon by the nodal agency. In earthquake, yes, in Uttarakhand, a part of the Uttarakhand that is in place with the help of IIT Roorkee and with funding from Ministry of Earth Science. Now it is taken up by Uttarakhand government, and that is in operation stage in the IIT Roorkee. But in order to bring it to the entire country level where earthquakes are faced, where 27% of the geographical area are under earthquake prone, we need to invest a lot, although technology and know-how are at place. And what are the things that SMS, or there are some apps will be there, position data, sensing technology, social media, and photo and video. All these things have to be integrated. But as of now, none of the states seems that have been able to make it. But state of Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, they are in the process of developing such kind of integration process with the in the State Emergency Operations Center. A time will tell very soon that how effective they are or able to communicate, especially during or after disaster. So even ham radio stations, of course, in our country, we had one session of ham radio the end of this week, 28th July, how ham radio works during disaster. So we'll discuss about this thing in a more practical way. Then how to coordinate with this thing, relay station, municipal office, remote controller. There are many. This is the disaster affected area, and bringing all them together. So we have to have a mock drill of these things, and in the days to come, we have to arrange such kind of mock drill nationwide, maybe in our campus. So mesh communication network is also there, and mesh router, but now we know that this mesh router is now available even in our household also by our main agencies that who are giving us broadband and internet and everything in our house through our mobile phone. So through the mesh, we are able to communicate even much better in this way. And then disaster risk management flow, it is again just in a different way of placing that disaster management cycle. Then challenges, of course, poor or post communication, as it is being all listed over here. Misinformation and rumors, ineffective coordination, difficulties in assessing needs. So this will all psychological impact. Of course, we cannot replace this. Inefficient evacuation and rescue operation. So establishing a communication network added with all these things, it is a very big aspect and then a robust area that to be handled, especially in the post-disaster system. So the communication here is not only mass communication or establishing a UAV and reestablishing the wireless or wired or broadband like or ham radio based or radio communication or satellite communication. But the things that which is listed over here, these are the very, very important areas and aspects that in the capacity building program of in disaster management that many such issues are being discussed, elaborated, demonstrated, and awareness as well as exercise and guideline research all are in place. So there are many such other trends that coming up. Of course, this is something market and market standards where the communication has gone to infrastructure, even how to operate a pump in my house, even using the mobile or internet over here, or even in the temperature that what is the temperature in the fridge, whether it is changing or not, whether electricity is there or not. So from the basic placement of CCTV camera, maybe for the last 15, 20 years in our campus or residential area or in the roads or even in the metro stations or important stations, we have come up to bring to have this kind of communication setup in our household and checking even in the hospital beds also the patient contact and feedback, and also whatever needs even in the OPD or even in the say hospital, say wards, various kinds of communication and networks and sensors, feedback, button, and are being placed. So even tracking of the vehicle where in fact high-speed internet is required, and of course it has been made possible even in the current 4G setup also. So what are the industry trends are going on, whether it is in the form of chemicals or energy or food or healthcare, like telemedicine and other things. There is a huge application of the sensors, network and communication, decision making, and taking things to the next level. So, and with the help of cloud or AI, artificial intelligence, IoT, robotics, blockchain, and many other things, the demand for global IT companies. And there are always, we are having accelerated growth in the last so many years, and technological transformation with Industry 4.0, and even constructions also has taken up the construction 3 or there are many such digital-based constructions are going on, online surveillance are going on. So we have to have the main backbone is that communication, whether it's wireless or wired communication and Wi-Fi communication. So various sorts of communications are there. So there are even in healthcare, what is the importance is given in a market survey in automotive industry. out of 50, 43 out of they are automotive. So how many clients are there? So this is a glimpse of communication network that which is taking our future into a much more acceptable as well as challenging, as well as more easy problem solving, whether it is in the case of medical or whether it is in the case of high tech or aerospace and defense. And earthquake detectors and other things like, of course, we have to have a background system so that it gives a warning bell in our office or in our house or in our bedroom. But it has to have background system. So it is again pre-disaster communication or warning communication becomes the backbone of getting this established in our bedroom or in our office or wherever they are. So keeping such kind of communication backbone is the communication network intact during disaster, because in case of earthquake, it is a few seconds or 20 seconds of early warning, or the bell that which are going to hear, it may give 20 seconds or 30 seconds of time. So reestablishing communication or even making an alternative arrangement. If one tower is broken during disaster, how automatically other remaining tower will be operational so that there is a redundancy in communication. So that is also important part. When the main line is gone, then how home-based communication devices will make it active and reestablish the communication. So that kind of arrangement is very much crucial, not only during disaster or post-disaster, but also pre-disaster. So factory emergency control system, many such examples are there. And then building earthquake early warning system. Of course, a lot of advances has taken place. Even in the let earthquake come, we need not to network everything, all the areas where thousands of seismograph stations have to be placed to have an early warning system. But at the same time, if there are some on-site early warning system are there, when P wave comes or arrive in a building system like this, and when it will be recorded not only at the ground, but at the various parts of the buildings, the ground floor or even top floor, and then having a linkage with that, and then deciding that what are the arrangement to be made. And in fact, there are smart buildings are being made where some dampers or friction dampers or viscous dampers are automatically they get activated when vibration comes. So in one part is that we are making our system resilient to the extent possible under the framework of our technology and know-how, installing that at appropriate places, and so that they become automatically activated. So activated during, say, emergency arise due to the attack by the earthquake waves. So there are some, some kind of arrangement now becoming part and parcel of many of the important establishments in the globe. And in fact, breach real-time control and monitoring also requires the backbone is communication again. So here we have to keep this communication network not subjected to earthquake or anything. Maybe during proper wearing, tearing, or service period of the breach, during they need also some kind of online communication system so that it gives us live information through such radio frequency and GPRS or GSM, wireless GPRS or GSM solution through SCADA system. We are able to check that health of this structure online, live, throughout the live, or throughout the service, or test it, see that when it is exceeding certain limit. So that kind of things are also possible. Or even some siren has come, and so how in an area, local area, in a marketplace, in elevator, what kind of operation system should be there, in the train, what kind of operation that it should do, what drivers have to do, and this fire station, whether they should go and or their doors can automatically open to prevent them from being stuck shut. So there are many automatic systems, and in the computer, hard drives can quickly be sent to the cloud. So whenever a disaster warning comes or siren comes or through some, say, early warning devices when it comes, then what are the immediate operations to be done? Whether this car should go to the main street or not. So those kind of decision can be taken. And in all, the main portion is that the resiliency of the communication and interoperability through various kind of communication systems, which are very much required to keep functioning even during disaster also. So even early warning for disaster, how much time that we get? So this is again, like 90% of natural hazards are of meteorological origin. And so flood, windstorm, droughts, and other things, forest and volcanic eruptions, very few, but so long-term climate predictions, even 1 decade, but for nowcasting, it may be say 1 hour or maybe several minutes. Tropical cyclone, we get a day minimum. Of course, we are getting now more than a day. And in case of monsoon, sometime short-term, medium-term monsoon, even 3 months before also, 6 months before also, but we get at least 1 month of time, long-range weather forecasting and other things. So this is in some other aspects that how much that we can get the early warning for some of these natural events that happen. Or in case of earthquake, where do earthquake occurs? That we have located. So we don't have to be much worried about this area, or even Eurasian plate is here. We don't have to establish. So we have to be concentrated enough based on the earlier record or historical record that where earthquakes are happening, and every day, every moment, these are being monitored and they are being placed or overlaid on these places wherever this this kind of fault lines are there. So these are already established. So with the help of again a communication with the kind of detecting that this kind of events are happening in which part, which geological part, and they are already here marked. So on that we are overlaying this information and updating currently every time. A jumbo seismic monitor is there, which is being updated every now and then. In case of earthquake, similarly for other events also. So these are all various other factory emergency control system, breach, real-time control system. These are already shown. Earthquake early warning information basics, how sensors generate, and when it goes to the center, like in our case, National Center for Seismology. Earlier it was IMD. In case of Japan, it is Japan Meteorological Agency. So they get this information, and when this center receives, this central receiving station, they receive, and they check with the various sensors that where they have placed, then they are able to give a warning. So these are all sensors placed at various spots, and sensor positions in generally 6 to 12 miles apart, so that we get the fairly good estimate or say check on the authenticity as well as the nature of the waves that we get it in case of earthquake here. So what actions before anything shakes the ground, just keeping in context of earthquake only, I'm showing, there can be a mobile alert, SMS, WhatsApp, email, breaking news in TV channel or telephone call by government, friends or media, siren or loudspeaker, then warning bells, like I have shown here the examples, or even live sharing of Google Map, something like that, or even shaking ringtone in smartphone. So expecting an early warning or getting a mobile alert, SMS, in many of the organizations now started, many of the project site also they are able to make, or even breaking news in TV channel. Of course, when such kind of early warning things will be there, when this is being given, then they are like our National Center for Seismology, they are given the mandate to communicate as soon as before giving this thing, they are simultaneously, they give this information to the many line departments, including Ministry of Home Affairs, which is the nodal Ministry of Disaster Management, and many other line ministry and Emergency Operations Center, including NDMA. So then, so in that case, expect early warning means that the nodal agency in each country, each state, each district level also, nodal organization or state emergency operations center or district emergency operations center, their information are being integrated, connected to state level. State is going to have a connection with the central level and various other organizations, and many of the important projects that are going on in our hill area, like dams or hydropower stations or canal network, even nuclear power stations. So many vital establishments are there. So in that case, there are some protocols, and through that protocols that dissemination are being done. But in all this case, again, I'm telling it again that communication, how communication through various form of, whether it is through SMS or WhatsApp or email, through satellite, through LoRa-based sensor, LoRa radio communication, all these things, or even by a siren, which again have the backbone in the communication, then only it will, and then sirens are also interconnected, not by wire these days, even by wire to be more precise, but one siren, two siren, one siren gives the sound, another one, when it is going beyond, when it is receiving, it will relay that also. So there are various forms of communication which are being established and which is to be looked into, like many mobile-based communication which can be made also in the locality and area, or even in case of earthquake, this can be our mobile phone when we are having a network of earthquake, say our WhatsApp, say social media and other things. So in a locality like where we are living in a locality over here, if any event happens over here, that is being networked through, most oftenly we do alert we can generate of our own if it is in case of fire and other things. Then there are many such social media network or even close network using, say, WhatsApp, where more than 200 can join in that, or in an area that every day we know that when that the water pump will be on. So that is being disseminated through such closed loop area network among the members living in this community, that at 5 o'clock pump is on. So everybody gets either a message or signal, which we know, we have learned all these things, that motor is on. So one has to go and the switch on their own whatever pump that they are having individually or collecting and other things. So if it is not there, they will first check that, oh, it is not on, there is no message has come. So all are internally informed. The again, backbone of all these things, again, is the communication, having a sound communication, redundant communication, resilient communication, dependable communication, like here and other things. So again, here it is saying that an earthquake has happened over here. It will reach here, like this is a home, one person may be having. So here the person who is there, he or she may be receiving a WhatsApp along with this map, along with this information in a WhatsApp, that estimated intensity is 5, expected magnitude at this point is 6.9, and it will take this red one, because this is a shear wave, which is a dangerous or destructive wave, it will take more 18 seconds to reach over here. So these are the kind of information to be sent to the people, again, as a prior information, and sending this information as low as 18 seconds at the location where whoever we are. whoever is within that network area, because then we get automatically updated that 18 seconds, within 18 seconds, that earthquake shaking is going to come with the intensity 5, the magnitude is 6.9, and we know that, and along with this color coding, that 6.9 is almost somewhere here. So that what kind of impact that we can have there. So we conduct again several kinds of earthquake related awareness program. What is this intensity? And by making shaking of intensity, say 6 or intensity 7 or 8, what kind of impact that it can cause to the buildings, or in this case, like over here. So by observing this, even after this happened, we assign an intensity of shaking that faced by this shopping mall and other thing. So it is not that this shopping mall have a location. When this fell down, so what is the kind of intensity that will face when you get this kind of information that intensity 5 is going to come? But we know based on our chart, intensity 5 cannot make such a level of scenario over here. This needs at least 7 intensity and other things. So there are some matching charts are there, like in order to measure pH value of water, we have got some matching color. So here also there are certain charts, and ICT materials are available, IC material, whatever. So based on that, such kind of intensity, at least it will take 7 intensity, then only they will fall down and something like this. So we can correct, or there are certain kind of survey being done during earthquake or after earthquake through a mobile network, that what kind of shaking you have done, you have faced, or you please give us certain kind of photographs like as it is being shown over here. So based on those photographs, then experts are there, they can estimate or they can assign an intensity. Then we can make an intensity plot due to earthquake, which comes in the form of this kind of color code. This comes generally within 3 to 5 minutes. Within 3 to 5 minutes, and by USGS and their agency, they publish this kinds of intensity map with the occurrence of the earthquake, and then taking this survey onward, they update it regularly, and then we get a sensational or say information, very much say important information about this, that in our area, by cooperating with those survey team through an again mobile network or whatever communication network that we are having, we are able to replot or reestablish that what is the experience of taking the experience of the people and the property or such kind of establishment which is being shown over here. We get an exact estimate of impact of earthquake. So again, I would like to say that in order to get this information, again, we need our fail-safe communication network. So something like this. Even using social media, we are able to communicate what we see, the random operations over here, human motions and other things. And earthquake comes, when earthquake comes, taking human motion into mind by all of them, then we can say that and shaking motion recorded by phones, all these things, then we generally make some feature. We make human motion versus earthquake. We can get certain kind of hypothesis or certain kind of indications that what impact that it has caused. But if a phone thinks the detected motion is due to an earthquake, it sends a message to our service for processing. So there are many direct and indirect way of taking information during or after, and then process them and get certain kind of inference after the event. So landslide early warning is also there, and I would say that established in Himachal Pradesh by IIT Mandi, an ICT-based landslide monitoring and early warning system. Landslide monitoring and early warning system. They established such a station now in the state and also in many other states, more than 50 such stations that they have placed. So one of that they have made, it is again self-sufficient with the power and other things. This is the rain gauge top with tilting with a tilting walla. Or usme, then they have placed some of the sensors within the soil also, and then they get currently this data on their computer. They are able to monitor it, and every day they are monitoring. And then whenever landslide is happening, they are able to give some early warning based on that to the district administration. And many sensors, MEMS based sensor, which you will get more detail in the next part of the seminar, whether it is temperature and humidity, rainfall intensity, soil, how much load that it is giving, moisture, whether any movement is happening. These are all being light intensity and then force. This is a cell, that force cell that which gives that how much load is there. So all these things are integrated. And tipping bucket rain gauge, tipping bucket, this is what is established as tipping bucket rain gauge. So all these things are integrated, and when by continuously seeing or observing these things, and they are able to see that here is an indication that landslide is going to happen. So this scenario, case study in Mandi district in 2018. So the police stopped traffic before flash flood and avoided a big disaster. About 4 or 5 vehicles carrying 12 to 15 people were saved at Kutropi due to landslide monitoring system. That this kind of continuous monitoring of the sensors that they have placed at different places, then continuously collecting the data, all the data boxes here through GSM in this case, and then plotting them with time, dates and everything, and then seeing that what is the value of movement, that seeing that the movement has gone up. And so based on this, they are able to make an landslide early warning. This is just one example. And district collector of Mandi, he was announcing that such kind of things that they have been able to get from the research as well as sensor-based landslide early warning that they have got from the IIT Mandi team. So this is it is a low-cost landslide monitoring system that can save lifetime as it is described over here. So machine learning on Mandi district data. So they have put machine learning tool over here, like over this. And so a neural network is also trained on and predicts the movement of one of time stop, look ahead at each other in 5 stations. So there it is still going on. Prediction results from Mandi, this landslide model. And outreach benefit, it is Make in India, and they are establishing it many places. These are the places, of course, in some other outside country, but it will be getting updated. And then finally, that February 7th, where I have shown the first slide that on 19th February, as of 19th February, 59 people are known to have lost their lives and 164 people are reported to be missing. So this is that Tapovan hydropower plant. From here it has gone and all this area. So, and it has made a devastation. Photographs are like this, taken from the net, and this is the scenario, night scenario after the devastation. This is the scenario that still it is there and it is so difficult to bring that. So finally, I would say that based on the topic that how disaster communication works, post-disaster communication works, I think in this presentation, an attempt is being made that with not that post-disaster, it is pre, during, and of course post-disaster, and in our life cycle. As long as we survive in this earth, communication network is a heart and soul in our lifestyle as well as in our survival. And without communication means a body or a physical being like we are without having any blood. So communication is within our blood. It is to be taken as our blood. Other than economy or our superiority in our academics and other things. But without communication, I think a human life in this form is impossible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for giving us very informative session and throw light on the importance of network resilience and the importance of early warning system in case of all types of disasters like earthquake, landslides, and how it is important, why it is important, and what things to be taken and things to be done and what not to be done. All the key areas of aspects like how we are going to deal this type of situations so that we are not become the victims, or if we are the victims, then what things to be done properly so that we can be addressed properly this kind of situations and all. And like you have also very rightly said that turning seconds of warning into actions like the SAKE alert systems, how this alert systems can within a few minutes we can take actions, and completely these actions can be leads to kind of recovery, fast recovery, and mitigate these types of mitigate this type of situations. So thank you, sir, for giving us a very brief and very detailed kind of sessions on particularly on this post-disaster communication. Not exactly the post, but pre, post, and during the disaster. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
So I want to ask whether Sudhanshu sir add few more things on this.
Thank you. And it was really very informative. And I think part 2 of this is going to be slightly more elaborate. And what I could gather, I definitely it was quite informative. In fact, I was also not aware of certain things which I just came to know from your presentation. Though we are into this, one interesting thing which I found based on my experience, which I would like to share, is that in most of the early warning systems which are in place presently in our country and in rest of the world, I have found that it fails. Sometimes it fails when it is required to perform or when it was needed. And in most of the cases, we have found some silly reasons for some very minor technical snacks in the system, and which could have saved a lot of lives. So we need to work in a field. We are also my company is also working on it. That how to we should monitor the health of these early warning systems on a continuous basis, and should also generate alarms that your early warning system is not in place, so that it can be taken care of before any big disaster happens. So these are very we are working on some very low power devices which consumes as low as 1 or 2 watts, and keeps on monitoring these communication networks, and keeps on giving you a warning, early warning of these failure of his early warning systems, so that you can take care of the maintenance part of it. So this is one aspect. I think we can have a full session on this sometime in some point of time, maybe when we get into some advanced level. But this is also very important that we need to have a continuous monitoring of the infrastructure, all this resilient infrastructure in place.
Or the communication infrastructure, the communication system that which is being supported by, say, physical infrastructure.
Yes. So it also needs to be monitored.
Yeah.
So, and apart from this, I'm really privileged to be here.
Okay.
And to be very frank, I had a lot of preoccupations. Of course, I managed to do them, but it was so interesting that I continued to be in the session. And
Yes, sir. Like sir has already mentioned that he has some like unavoidable meetings.
yeah,
So he told that he will be there for a few times, but I'm glad that he enjoyed the whole session is there because it's very curious that what Ghosh sir is adding to this component.
right.
He very wants to learn this thing also before the second part of the session. And thank you, sir, for adding the most important aspect in this because health assessment is quite important, not for the bridges. Also, we have one session, the health assessment of bridges. So I think we might take the health assessment of the communication systems in the second part of the session by sir. So that will be more value addition session and the more technical, the IoT based equipments, how we can like implicate not rather than only the IoT solutions, also the strategic parts and the roles and responsibilities of stakeholders that need to be taken care of because the integrated approach of both the aspects will be very valuable to address this kind of situations. Yes, sir.
Right.
And sir, I have one question for Ghosh sir. Like you are telling that जैसे कि हम लोग मोबाइल एप्लीकेशंस में अलर्ट्स एंड दिस काइंड ऑफ वाइब्रेटर्स दो यू हैव explained in terms of the earthquake point of view, but I want to ask for the cyclone point of view that being a most belonging from a cyclone specific state. So during the time of Fanny, I personally experienced that our phones, all the technical or the telecommunication part is completely disrupted. This kind of little, like we can call it as a dabba. There is no use of all these kind of applications. And though they are the authorities and administrative authorities are using the help of the ham radios and all, but the trees are completely blocked all over the area and they can't even approachable to each and every sections and corners of the city. Even that time the resources currently they are with the government is very less, so they can't address the whole city or whole entire the metropolitan city at that time. So in those situations, how to deal, like how to aware and how to deal the post communication part.
Is that question to
Yeah.
me or Ghosh?
Sir, who
You
might
please.
answer? Yes. So it's up
Pardon?
to you.
You please, because you are the
Yes,
person.
sir.
Actually, there is one very interesting technology which Chandan sir was already mentioning, the mesh technology. And you will be surprised to know this we learned from a very bad incident which happened a few years back. There was an attack, terrorist attack in somewhere in Jammu, Pulwama, I understand,
Yeah.
in which when the intelligence network tried to trace back, normally you use mobile towers to trace and mobile communication to trace that how they who were involved in this, what agency was involved, and how they were communicating. Surprisingly, there was no footprint of any communication over mobile network through mobile towers, but those terrorists were talking to each other over mobile.
Yeah. Using
this
mesh.
is something called mesh. Now if you keep the Wi-Fi of your mobile on, we can have a city-wide mesh network over mobile Wi-Fi only without any service provider, which is technically and theoretically possible. So this technology can be harnessed for having an emergency communication in such situation where your mobile phone is an active radio device, and every second mobile phone which is in the vicinity within the Wi-Fi range of this mobile again is being used as a hopping station to reach to the next mobile. And nowadays every individual has a mobile. Now it has become an identity. So if you have people in and around you at a distance of every maybe 100 meters, you can have a citywide communication network only using your mobile and Wi-Fi networks. This is theoretically possible, and it can be demonstrated at any point of time.
Yeah.
So this is one of the ways, and these nowadays this LoRa mesh technology is a very low power
Yeah.
Very nice method of communicating. But you cannot have voice technology, voice communication over LoRa because you can have data only. But in mobile mesh, you can have even voice communication. We have radios. We will definitely come and demonstrate some point of time, which
Okay.
uses mesh network to extend its range throughout the district or city, or it can go up to infinite location if it gets some path or the other. It's a seamless communication. So these are some methods which can be used for these type of applications.
Okay. So the next, like Biparjoy has gone, but we face the same trouble. But now let us see that with this demonstration of this alternative communication, they say, let us get ourselves prepared.
Right.
At the national
And
level.
we have learned a lot of lessons from our past mistakes. So we should try to improve upon it.
Okay. In fact, Kerala and Andhra Pradesh, they are quite advanced in making an integrated response at their state level, but still they need a little more ground truthing with the information, because
Every mobile tower can be equipped with very high power amplifiers and maybe speakers or horns for using it as a siren or announcement system in case of any natural disaster.
Okay.
And even mobile towers have seismic sensors. So that can be used to generate a local alarm in case of earthquake and all, and a local siren can be played so that people go out of their premises or buildings. Nowadays, unfortunately, we don't have such systems. We have also proposed certain agencies like these airports, railway stations to have a separate channel for national this disaster for natural disasters, so that these displays which are used for your train information or flight information can be overridden by natural disaster information, that there is a flooding outside or some part of the city, you have some landslide or whatsoever, or earthquake, so that your these normal displays which are there on the railway platforms and airports immediately doubles as a natural disaster display, and it becomes an information system to disseminate information as fast as possible.
In fact, if I remember well, in 1998 or 1999, when I was in Japan, whenever earthquake used to occur, so they, within few seconds, they will locate the earthquake. They will find that they will locate the earthquake, and that will come immediately on the television network.
Right.
At that time, 1998, 99, just mobile phone started there.
Yes.
Of course, here it has started in 2003, 4 onward, 5 onward. Of course, it was not affordable to that extent, but television network was very much in our country also since 1980s onward. So they have a dedicated channel to see, and they will show on the Google, on their national map itself, where that earthquake has occurred. So you see, everybody is having television network, no mobile in that way, but there will be a dedicated channel where it will show that location of the earthquake. If location of the earthquake for their country is less than 6.5 or 7, nobody bothers about the failure or
Japan.
So when location is shown, then throughout the nation, they have put some geotagged this CCTV camera. So this CCTV camera footage are live. They are taken from the building which are shaking and other things. So they come to their central resource station, and through that they just check, because they cannot do it directly. They check that which they can directly relay through that television network. So they show, like in our compound here in our office, we have got maybe 32 CCTV camera. We show 32 angle that show. So there, that dedicated channel or network, that dedicated TV network becomes a current day, whatever we are using CCTV channel show. That where vibration is occurring, which building, where it is shaking. So they can have the visual record, as well as, so this way communication becomes direct, as you are telling now, that all our police station or fire station and railway stations, that we can easily have this kind of communication network. And even along the rail line also, they have got a separate network. Since then,
Right.
along the gas pipeline, even PNG, CNG gas pipeline, like we have got so many, pressurized fuel pipeline, underground, overground. So they have got all these dedicated sensors which will tell, because we are able to detect now if any pilferage in the electricity is there or not. But that has got the motivation from the electricity supplier, because they have to check, or they have to keep their say earning or whatever accountability of the pilferage of the electricity. So even water supply, when it is going, we are able to detect it. Is there any leakage or pilferage is there? So when we are able to go, because that is a community, not community, it is a commercially motivated, but disaster motivated things can be taken up in this manner, which is very, very good. With the
Fast dissemination of information is the key thing, and the best way is to automate it. For example, even these FM radio stations, which are you have plenty of them across the country,
Yeah.
and presently they are playing music or whatsoever radio shows that can automatically be interrupted for disseminating this information. So even if you are driving a car, you come to know through your car radio that something is wrong, or maybe you need to leave way for your fire brigade or rescue system to pass through. So these things can be automated, and so that even radio stations, television stations, everything is synchronized, and they start disseminating the information as fast as possible to the relevant location. Of course, it has to be geospatial. You cannot broadcast it across the country. It doesn't make sense. So that is how it can be. We can think of some modern solutions which can be more innovative and without adding any cost or infrastructure.
Yeah. Great. I think we have created a very vibrant stage for part 2 for our participants. That please you come forward with more in numbers and more enthusiasm, and we want to see that your enthusiasm and interest come in the form of at least writing you, not that simply thank you very much, good session, but with the help of some queries and discussions, and also interactions among your friend circle for the part 2 lesson, which maybe in the first week will be in the first week of August, so that we can have a very interesting session from Shashank, Sudhanshu Shekhar.
Thanks a lot. Thanks everybody. Thanks, Ms. Mohanty.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to have an opportunity to express my appreciation towards you and all the members that are present from the GC technology, like Paul sir and Abir sir. They might be joined in detail. He will share their thoughts.
Asked them to keep themselves free for the next session, so that at least we can.
Yes, sir. So thank you for your presence and making this webinar a most vibrant and quite successful. And I'm very grateful to the esteemed participants of the webinar for their presence and efforts in making this a great successful event. At last, I would like to extend my profound gratitude to Professor Chandan Ghosh for his guidance and support in making this webinar successful. And few things too before closing the session. I request all the participants to visit the NIDM training portal, give your valuable feedback, and followed by that you can able to download, and I'll request all the participants to download your certificate from Monday onwards. And with this also I would brief about our upcoming webinar. In our upcoming webinar on Friday, we will cover the interesting topic on how zero-door waterless urinals work. You might heard about the eco toilets and biotile toilets, but zero-door toilets you might be hearing for the first time, or maybe you heard of this. So we have very eye-catchy and innovative technology to discuss with you. And in this rapid and climate change and stressful environment, which will be very fruitful, and from that speaker is very much experienced, and he will share your experience on this topic and enlighten us with this topic regarding how the zero-door waterless urinals basically work. So thank you all and have a pleasant evening. Thank you all for joining us. Kindly register for the upcoming webinar and be with us for making us a very successful event. Thank you all. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.